In this lesson, we will look at a new way to pack the 2.5-inch hose in the rear hose bed. The conventional flat load that we've used for generations is totally adequate for storing the 2.5 on the engine, but it's not efficient for deploying it as an attack line. The new packing method will create multiple 100-foot stacks that may be laid Minuteman style rather than dragged. In this video, the 3-person crew will quickly and easily deploy 400 feet of 2.5-inch hose. The nozzle person grabs the 100-foot nozzle stack and pulls the entire stack a few feet forward. They then step down using 3 points of contact and place the stack on their shoulder as they would with a Minuteman. The nozzle person then walks about 15 feet from the apparatus as the second firefighter grabs the next stack and places it on their shoulder. When they step down from the tailboard, the second firefighter will walk forward with the nozzle person. The third firefighter grasps the third stack and steps down from the tailboard. The crew then proceeds forward together toward the fire. If more hose is required than the 300 feet that's being carried, the third firefighter will pull it from the flat load in the bed. After enough additional hose is pulled from the bed, hose will be flaked off the third firefighter's shoulder. Laying the hose like this rather than dragging it will avoid pulling the hose under any tires or other objects on the way to the fire. The operator will break the hose at the appropriate coupling and connect it to one of the rear outlets. Once the last flake comes off the third person's shoulder, the second firefighter will allow the hose to flake off their stack. They will do this until their stack is exhausted. This leaves the nozzle person's stack. When they are about 40 feet from their target, the nozzle person will grab the nozzle with the bottom hand and the third fold from the nozzle in their top hand, shrugging up and clearing the hose off their shoulder. The hose is pulled forward toward the target in a large bite between the nozzle person's two hands. Hopefully enough hose has been stretched to allow for the nozzle and the 50-foot coupling at the door. The hose is quickly tidied and the firefighter ensures the hose closest to the nozzle is on top of the supply end of the hose. They are then ready to call for water. Let's take a look at how we're going to pack this load. The number of stacks in the load will depend on how wide the bed is. You should set the divider to allow at least 4.5 inches per stack. This bed is 15 inches and holds 3 stacks with a little extra space. If it was at least 18 inches wide, it would be able to accommodate a 4th stack. If your hose bed is wide enough for 5 stacks, you won't have to place any hose in a flat lay. Begin by placing the female coupling toward the front of the bed and then laying a flake down adjacent to the bed wall. Fold the hose about 15 inches short of the end of the bed to leave a space at the rear. When the hose is folded, place the next fold at the back, immediately beside the female coupling. Make another fold at the rear of the bed, again about 15 inches from the end, and directly beside the first rear fold. Repeat this process until the hose reaches the other side of the bed. Once the folds have spanned the entire width of the bed, place the next fold directly on top of the previous one and start working back to the start. When the last length of the base layer is loaded, flop the male end out over the front of the hose bed. Next, the firefighter ensures the nozzle is attached securely and places it on the left side of the hose bed at the rear. The nozzle should be sitting directly on the hose bed in the space left by the shortened base layer and should be just inside the confines of the safety tarp. In this case, we're using a smoothbore nozzle which does not have a handle. We will place the nozzle in the bail up and closed position. The hose is flaked about even with the bail into a neat single stack. If we're packing the 2.5-inch fog nozzle with handle, we will place the nozzle in the bail down and closed position. This will leave the handle pointing up and pointing toward the hose stack. With this arrangement, use the handle as the outside boundary and fold the hose just short of the handle, again trying to make a nice neat single stack. Connect a second length and continue folding. When the end of the hose is reached, fold the female end back over itself, leaving it exposed at the top. Place the male end of another length beside the nozzle, and fold the hose to the front of the bed. Repeat folding over itself, shortening the folds about 2 inches from the exposed male coupling. This will allow us to fold the male end up to couple the hose. Repeat folding until the end of the 100-foot stack is reached, and leave the female exposed at the top. Repeat this with the third and possibly fourth stack until all the hose is neatly folded and all female ends are exposed on top. You should see several exposed couplings which must be connected. The female from the nozzle stack is connected to the male at the front of the adjacent second stack. The female from the second stack is connected to the male of the adjacent third stack. The male from the original flat load base layer is then coupled to the female of the rightmost stack. Connecting the stacks at this point can be a little bit tricky. Let's listen to Simon LeBlanc as he gives us his pro packing tips. Keep in mind that in this next example, the nozzle stack is now on the right side, not the left.
The easiest way is to bring it straight up. Because we're heading to the center of our stack here, or outside to our truck, we're going to do an underhand loop in that direction. I'll have firefighter Connors help me here to shuffle the hose towards the back while I bring this to my middle coupling here in the front, and we're going to make our connection. Our next one, 200-foot coupling, same thing, straight up, underhand loop in the direction of where we're going, and then Tim will feed the hose for me, make our connection. There we go. And our last coupling, our 300-foot coupling, is going to connect to the back here to our flat load to make our load 500 feet continuous. Once that is done, we can clean up the load a little bit. Bringing these nice and tight towards the back of the truck here. Gives us a nice clean look at the end.
Stay tuned for more videos on how you can use this versatile load. Thanks for watching. Now it's time to go practice.